Welcome to Good News Broadcast. We are with Aria Finger of DoSomething.org. Aria, first of all, to start out, tell us a little bit about the history of DoSomething.org.
So DoSomething.org is all about getting teenagers to take action in their community. We want everyone across America to find a cause they're passionate about and take action. So whether it's the environment or homelessness or gang violence, whatever. And we've been around since 1993, and ever since then we've just had the same goal of motivating young people.
Now, Andrew Shue started. Now, why did he decide to start DoSomething?
Andrew Shue started DoSomething, and he was at the height of its fame. He was on Melrose Place, at the top show of the time, and he could have done anything. He could have started a cologne line, whatever, but he was a lifelong Boy Scout. He always cared about giving back. His family, he's from New Jersey, he always played sports and was involved in the community, and he said, hey, why don't we make volunteerism as cool as after-school sports and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to do it?
Well, why is it so important for young people to volunteer? We hear about older people volunteering. Why is it so important for us to start with the youth to get them involved?
I think there's two reasons why this is important. One is just because it's fun. The goal of DoSomething is to make volunteering fun and exciting and entertaining. And then two, it's important because if you ask older people, what's the connection between all older people who volunteer, the number one connection is that they started volunteering as a young person. So if we can get this generation out there in the community, there's no telling what problems we can solve and what issues we can address.
How do you go about reaching out to young people and getting them involved?
Any way we can. We really approach it from 360 degrees. So we go where young people are. We have a Facebook page. We go to their schools. We have partnerships with stores in the mall because we want to attack young people in their natural habitat. And then recently, a big push of ours has actually been mobile.
Yes.
And when a lot of people say mobile, they think smartphones, but really teenagers are texting.
Sure.
They're sending 3,300 text messages a month.
Yeah.
So DoSomething is focusing on text message as the way to utilize young people to get involved in social change.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned text messaging because we're actually working with Johnson & Johnson and Text for Baby.
Oh my God, that campaign is the best.
Isn't it amazing? I mean,
Yeah.
we've gotten so many, women signing up for Text for Baby.
Oh,
and
that's
of course,
great.
Yeah, sending them timely text messages all the time. So I know DoSomething is actually working with Johnson & Johnson. Am I correct?
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson and DoSomething have had a long-term partnership, so we work with them on a lot of different things.
And you're working with them on the And You campaign?
Yeah, we're working with them on the And You campaign along with some other great not-for-profits, Volunteer Match, Idealist, GuideStar, Network for Good, and then also Johnson & Johnson is a sponsor of the VH1 DoSomething Awards.
Speaking of, tell us a little bit more about the DoSomething Awards. It sounds really exciting. Tell us a little bit more
So
about
the DoSomething Awards, which are going to be August 18th at 9 p.m. on VH1, they are the premier award show for young people who are rocking social change. These are entrepreneurs who are doing everything and anything, solving the food crisis. We have a war widow who's focusing on young widows, which just breaks your heart.
She's 21 when she lost her husband.
I can't even imagine, 21 and lost her husband. And we have another girl who creates cheerleading squads for people with and without disabilities at high schools across the country. And so it's a massive star-studded award show. It's hosted by Jane Lynch, Sue Sylvester from Glee, and it should be a really fun time with celebrities honoring these young people for the kick-ass stuff that they're doing in the community. So,
how long has the DoSomething Awards been around?
The DoSomething Awards has been around since 1996, and the goal is that when a 15-year-old dreams, we want them to dream about, Oscar, Grammy, Emmy, DoSomething Award. We want that to be right up there because that's something that you should really strive for.
How do you go about choosing the finalists for the DoSomething Awards? Again, because the finalists that you have, I see the 5 of them have amazing stories. So how do you go about narrowing down who you're going to select to receive an award?
So it's really tough to narrow down because we get thousands of applications and then we go through them and we have to say like, oh, you just saved 100 lives? We have someone else who saved 1,000. So narrowing down is really tough, but with the help, we have an online judging system, and then we also fly the semifinalists to New York for a weekend of judging, in-person judging, background checks, calling all the organizations in their space, and then that's how we narrow it down to these 5 finalists, each of whom will get $10,000, and then one will get $100,000.
So talk a little bit more about some of the other projects that DoSomething, how you encourage the young people to volunteer. What are some of the areas in which you encourage volunteerism?
So any cause that a young person can think of, we have a way to activate them. One of our, for this coming back to school season, we're actually launching 4 campaigns this back to school season. We're focusing one on bullying, another one on e-waste, so like unwanted electronics to make sure they get recycled. We have a third that's on cancer, finding bone marrow matches for people with cancer. And then we have a sports equipment drive to engage young people to collect sports equipment for youth in underserved communities.
So, and you also do something with Staples, am I correct?
Yes, Staples, that's wrapping up on September 17th, but that is one of our tentpole campaigns, the Staples for Students campaign. It's the 4th annual campaign this summer, and it is massive.
So I see you have a lot of young celebrities like Demi Lovato, my girls love, and
She's
a
the
lot
best.
of young Corbin Blue, we've had him in the past. How do you get these young celebrities to get involved and take up the cause?
So for the Staples for Students campaign, it's the 4th annual. We wanted some celebrities that really resonated with the teen market. So we saw that the ABC Family, which is a top teen network, they have Pretty Little Liars, and it's the top show for 12 to 34-year-olds. So we were like, we gotta have them. So we called up ABC Family, who we have a great relationship with, and talked to them about the possibility of using the stars of the show. And we had worked with Lucy Hale in the past, and all 4 of the girls all said yes immediately. They all are super charitable, and so they were really excited about being able to use their star power to get young people across the country involved in the Staples for Students campaign.
Now, how has Do Something changed over and evolved over the years? Are there causes that are just more important? I wouldn't say more important, but are there causes that you find that kids are more interested in now than, let's say, when the organization was first started?
I think the biggest way that Do Something has evolved is actually along with technology, because when we launched in '93, we didn't even have a website.
Right.
And now everything's web, social media, YouTube, texting. In terms of causes, I think the causes do sort of remain constant, but we'll see depending on what's in the news. So we're launching a bullying campaign because that's something that's really risen to the surface among young people. Education and poverty, along with the Staples campaign, that's always important to young people, so we could run that throughout. And then lastly, Do Something really prides itself on being a first responder to national disasters. So, last 2 years ago, for the after the Haiti earthquake, we collected jeans. We collected over 200,000 pairs of jeans and sent them down to Haiti. After the tsunami in Japan, we worked with the foundation to get a $400,000 donation going to Japan, raised on behalf of young people. So anytime something hits, we want to make sure that we're responding, whether it's a natural disaster or something in the news or something that young people themselves are telling us is really important.
So in terms of talking about bullying, because again, you said it's a big issue right now, what exactly is Do Something doing about bullying? What is the campaign?
So we're launching a campaign with Popcorn Indiana, and it is all about stepping up to bullying. It's hard to target the victims because they don't know what to do. They're in the tough place. It's hard to go after the bullies because they're not going to listen to our messaging. So we're really going after those bystanders, and we're telling you that if you step in, you can make a difference. If someone is bullying someone and someone steps in, 57% of the time they stop. That is a huge power that teenagers have in their schools to step in, step up, stop bullying.
How did you personally become involved with Do Something?
So it was preordained from the womb that I was going to go into not-for-profit work. Both my parents are very interested in social justice. So I went to, right after college, I went to idealist.org. It's the #1 site to look for jobs in the nonprofit sector. And I found Do Something. I'd never heard of it, but it really appealed to me because you could go after any cause. I didn't just have to be focused on cancer. I didn't just have to be focused on, sustainability issues. And so that was really exciting. And I met Nancy Lublin, our current CEO, about 6 years ago. We hit it off right away, and it's been a wonderful 6 years.
Now I see that Nancy, she started Dress for Success. Now how is it different working with young people versus older people with something like Dress for Success? What is the difference in that?
I think Nancy was really excited to come to Do Something because of all the possibilities, because it is more than one issue. I think that really attracted her to it, and also just the potential of young people. So we don't just sort of work with teenagers and college students out in the community, but if you walk around our office, we have 20 full-time college interns right now and 10 full-time high school interns, and they're coming to all our meetings. They're meeting with the CMOs of big companies. They're coming to our PR meeting, and we're really valuing their opinion. And I think to be a youth organization, you got to listen to the youth. So it's been wonderful to get their insight.
So Speaking of value in the youth, I know you have there's 5 principles of Do Something. What are those?
Oh, you know what? We actually focus on 3 main rules. And our 3 main rules are no money, which means we don't fundraise for our young people. Lots of other not-for-profits do that. That's great. 2 is no adults, which doesn't mean no adults allowed. It just means no adults required. The minute you tell a 16-year-old you have to ask your mom or ask your teacher, they're like, what? I can do this? I thought I was the leader. And so we want to make sure young people know that they can do it. And then the 3rd is no cars, which is really a metaphor for that we go where they are. We don't make them, drive in their car and come to us. We make it as easy as possible. So giving them opportunities at their school, at their Aeropostale store in the mall, at the Staples store that they're already at. So it's just make it easy for them to volunteer.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from teams that have participated in Do Something or that have started their own clubs? What kind of feedback have you gotten?
So for the Staples for Students campaign, we're doing a service where every single person who signs up gets a personal text message, a personal email, or a personal phone call from someone on Do Something staff asking them how they're doing. And it's been fantastic to hear from them. Some of them say, great, this is awesome. Others say, I'm having a tough time. I don't know how to collect school supplies, or I need some help. And it's been really wonderful for our sort of cause coaches to be able to give them advice and tips and, mobilize your sports team or mobilize your church group. And so that's really been wonderful. And they really appreciate this 2-way dialogue because we're listening and we want to hear from them. So it's been a lot of fun.
What do you hope for Do Something for the future?
For Do Something in the future, our goal is to create a massive army of 5 million young people who we're going to be motivating and communicating with by their mobile phones. And just imagine if there is another disaster, if we could text out to 5 million young people, the response could be amazing. We could do anything. And so I think with 5 million young people activated, we could affect any cause and any issue.
Now, do you partner up with local agencies right here in New York City, like Food Bank for New York City or any of those organizations?
We partner with local organizations across the whole country. Do Something is national. We're in the US, actually in Canada as well. So we, for instance, for our Staples for Students campaign, every Staples store is partnered with the local Boys and Girls Club, so that when you donate at the Union Square Staples, that your school supplies are staying right in your own community. And I think that's really important to have a national campaign, but with a very local impact.
Paul, did you have any questions?
This is very good. It's really very good. Just the only other thing would be, what you would expect. No, I don't have any questions. Maybe Gordon does.
Yeah, I do. I have a few. Just give me one second. So I'll ask the questions, and you look right as well.
Yep.
So to begin, being that your organization works specifically with young people, and that usually means adolescents as well, teenagers, I know that there are certain requirements with respect to city and state that if a young person reports any type of violence or abuse, all those types of things, the adult and the agency is required to report that. How do you retain the integrity and the trust of the young people, and at the same time be able to walk that straight line and being able to inform if somebody is the victim of some type of abuse?
Yeah, Do Something is very concerned about privacy and our privacy issues. So we have a very strict privacy policy on our website, and we make sure that we're never, selling our information to someone or never giving it away. We also strictly adhere to COPPA, which is the Child Online Privacy and Protection Act, to make sure that we're protecting those young people under 13. Our target market is 14 to 18, but hey, younger sisters and younger brothers definitely get involved, which is fantastic. The question about what we do when there's sort of violence shown is that's actually a pretty rare occasion. We have mostly seen questions relating to community action, volunteerism, how do I rate my food bank better, but certainly we would abide by any and every city and state law. But I do think it's interesting because the number one thing that the credibility that we have is that we're a trusted resource. So teens know when they come to us that we are looking out for their best interests. We're a not-for-profit, so our bottom line is to represent the people, and especially teenagers, and I think that's really important.
You also said that you're working with, the ideal is to have these young people as a coterie of first responders. Are you also preparing them from the standpoint of if they're encountering, whether it's the bullying, how do they address it, if they are, when people actually take that type of responsibility on to really engage people, how then they are able to be quote unquote counseled or supported as they continue to be on the forefront.
So DoSomething is, we're an expert in teens, we're an expert in technology, and we're an expert in volunteerism. But we're not an expert necessarily in bullying in the environment and all these various issues. So for every campaign we do, we actually create an advisory council, and we call all the relevant organizations in the space. So we talk to the domestic abuse networks, we talk to the other folks who are working on bullying, and make sure that we have the expert knowledge that is necessary, because we want to make sure that we're counseling teens on the important stuff. But for instance, if someone writes in or someone gets in a situation where there is dating violence in particular, we have a page on our website that's dedicated to all the different hotlines for dating abuse and specifically teen dating abuse, because we know that we don't have the expertise in that, and we want to make sure that the people who do are the ones who address it.
You spoke about dealing with or wanting to identify underserved communities or neighborhoods that are economically depressed. Are you finding a significant amount of volunteerism coming out of there? If so, how? If not, why not? And how do you intend to address it?
So I think one of the things that makes DoSomething accessible to people of all incomes is the fact that we are no money. So our boot camps are free of charge. When we run our Teens for Genes drive, we send out people action kits so that they have all the things that they need to take action. And the great thing about the flip to mobile is actually young people in underserved communities over-index on mobile phones. 20% of low-income youth only access the internet from their phones as opposed to PCs. So phones are a great way to bridge that digital divide, and I think that's going to be really important for us going forward. In terms of tracking what we do, we never ask our young people, for their income information, because we just wouldn't feel right. But we do track young people coming from schools where free and reduced lunch is 75% or greater of the population. And we've seen that our DoSomething Clubs program actually tracks against population lines. So we're not doing better than the population, but we're not doing worse. And I think that in the future with mobile, we hope to be able to address those low-income young people in a better way.
Last few questions, and then Simone has one follow-up. That would be, what are the challenges that you personally, as well as DoSomething, faces, and how do you address them?
The challenges that DoSomething faces going forward, we're actually expanding right now, going from sort of running one campaign a month, eventually up to running 50. And I think the challenge is coming up with all of those fantastic ideas. Our campaigns have been really successful thus far, and we want to make sure to keep that positive spirit going for each of our campaigns, and the way we're going to do that is through crowdsourcing. So we know that the best ideas are not just in this room. So for all of our campaigns, along with those advisory councils, we do conference calls. We also just put it up on Facebook. We ask our 160,000 Facebook followers what they think we should do for campaigns, and we've certainly gotten a lot of campaign ideas directly from our young people. So I think we're going to continue to do that.
And yourself?
What are the biggest challenges that I face? DoSomething's a growing organization, so I think that making sure every single person on staff knows exactly how what they're doing fits into the larger goal. Because we want to make sure that everyone is just as excited about the larger goal that we have. And that's tough with a growing organization, but the staff is one of my favorite parts of my job, so I think we can do it.
And what gives you hope for the future?
Everything gives me hope. People talk about how young people are apathetic or uninterested, but I find just the opposite. We see how well our political system is working, not well. And the teenagers that I work with every day are so hopeful and optimistic. When I talk to them about jobs, they talk about how they want a job that's meaningful, as well as a job that makes money, as well as work-life balance. And so I think that that's really hopeful to me, that you can they want to have it all, and I want to watch them have it all.
We have one last question for you, and this is what we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
What's good news for you?
What's good news for me?
Yes.
Good news for me is getting the word out about the inspirational young people in our communities to everyone across the US and across the world. It is always good news to hear the positive side of things instead of just the negative.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Aria.
Great, thank you guys.